Peace be upon you, dear loyal viewers. Imagine this, an action-packed movie set, cameras rolling, adrenaline high. Then suddenly the world stands still. Dwayne Johnson, in the middle of a high-budget shoot, freezes. His breath catches. His face turns pale. He sees her. A teenage girl in the crowd. Holding a photo. Eyes filled with sorrow. And in that instant, The Rock isn't a superstar anymore. He's a man, shattered by a truth he can no longer deny. Was this the daughter he never knew he had? A heartbroken secret, standing just meters away. What happened next would shake his soul, and the world, forever. However, before we begin the story, tell us from which city you're watching. May God bless you with health and abundant fortune for subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing this story. Now let's continue to the story. It was just another long, exhausting day on set. The production team had been working tirelessly under the blazing Georgia sun. Crew members shouted directions through megaphones, adjusting lights, fixing props, and preparing for the climactic fight scene that would make headlines in movie trailers across the world. Dwayne Johnson, known to the world as The Rock, stood tall in the center of it all, sweat glistening on his skin, muscles tense, eyes focused. This scene was his specialty. Explosions, intensity, stunts, he lived for this. But today, something was off. As the director counted down, Dwayne noticed a strange stillness around him. It wasn't from the set, but from within. His eyes wandered, something pulled them toward the edge of the filming area. A gathering crowd stood behind the barrier, watching curiously as they often did. Fans hoping for a glimpse of a star. But there she was. A girl maybe 15 or 16. Long chestnut hair. Pale face. Hands trembling as she clutched a photograph. Her gaze locked with his, haunting, fragile, but fearless. Time stopped. He couldn't move. His heart thudded so hard it echoed in his ears, louder than the director's commands, louder than the cameras. The girl's photo shook in her hands. It was worn, faded, but he could see it even from a distance. It was a picture of him. And a woman he once loved. His knees weakened. "Cut!" someone shouted angrily. The scene fell apart. People scrambled. Confusion spread. But Dwayne didn't care. He tore off his mic, ignoring the director's protests, and began walking toward the girl. Security tried to block him, he waved them off. Every step closer twisted his gut tighter. The girl didn't move. She didn't cry. She just waited. When he stood in front of her, just inches away, he couldn't breathe. The picture in her hand was clearer now. It was him. Younger, with someone he had tried so hard to forget. Her voice was soft. Barely a whisper. "My name is Maya." His lips parted, but nothing came out. "I think you might be my father." The words crushed him. 15 years. 15 years of silence, of ignorance, of believing the past was behind him. And now, it was staring at him in the eyes, begging for recognition. Camera still rolled. Phones were already filming. But in that moment, Dwayne Johnson wasn't The Rock. He was a man broken open by truth. The air was heavy. The sun was setting. The crew stood frozen in awkward silence. No one knew what to say. No one dared interrupt. And the only sound left was the sound of a man's heart shattering in front of the world. The world didn't stop spinning, but for Dwayne Johnson it might as well have. His body was there, on that movie set, under the golden light of a dying sun, but his mind was hurled backward. Into memories, into pain. Into the past he had tried so hard to bury beneath fame, training, red carpets, and carefully rehearsed smiles. He stood in front of the girl who just told him she was his daughter. Maya. He whispered her name without realizing. The sound of it on his own lips made his chest tighten. A small crowd had started to gather closer now. Crew members kept their distance, watching from behind light rigs and prop carts. Security hovered nearby, unsure whether to intervene. The cameras had long stopped rolling, but someone was still recording this, the rawest scene of Dwayne's life. He looked at her again, closely this time. Not as a stranger, as a father. The curve of her chin. The fire in her eyes even through the pain. The same nose as his own mother. God, she looked like him. "How did you find me?" he finally managed, his voice hoarse, cracked. Maya blinked. "I've been trying to, for years." Her fingers clutched the photograph tighter. The corners were bent, the colors faded. She raised it just enough for him to take it from her. His hand trembled as he reached out. He stared at it. He remembered the day it was taken. Backstage at a wrestling event. He was still rising through the ranks, still raw, still human. The woman beside him. Elena. Quiet, kind, brilliant. A woman who never asked for fame, never wanted the spotlight. She just wanted him. Before the lights. Before Hollywood. Before it all got too loud. They were together briefly. He had to move on. Travel. Train. Fight. And she disappeared. They lost contact. He never knew she was pregnant. She never told him. I lived with my mom until I was 9, Maya continued. She got sick. Cancer. By the time she told me your name, it was too late for me to ask her anything else. Dwayne closed his eyes. He felt like someone had punched him in the gut. She told me never to hate you, Maya said, her voice soft. She said you were never cruel. Just gone. She paused. I don't want money. Or fame. I just wanted to see you. Just once. For real. Dwayne's breath caught in his throat. A lump rose that he couldn't swallow. All the muscles in his body, built over years of fighting, lifting, surviving, felt useless now. He motioned gently. Come with me. Maya hesitated. He could see the fear in her. Fear of rejection. Fear this was all a mistake. But she followed. He led her past the production trailers into his private lounge. Closed the door. The noise of the outside world faded. Only silence remained. Inside he sat down heavily on the couch. Maya stood near the doorway as if unsure whether she belonged in this space. You do look like me, he said quietly. She cracked a tiny smile, shy and pained. I wasn't sure, until just now. You're sure now? She nodded. I can feel it. He looked around the room, his gym bag, his scripts, his phone with messages from agents and producers. None of it mattered. Not now. Maya. I've made mistakes, he confessed. I've worked so hard to be a father to my girls. But I never even knew about you. I know, she said. I'm sorry. I don't even know where to start. Maybe, just start here, she replied. Right now. Just talk to me. And so they did. For over an hour, Dwayne asked her everything. Her life. Where she'd been. Who had taken care of her after her mother passed. The foster homes. The nights she cried herself to sleep. The times she watched his movies just to feel some kind of connection, however distant. I used to imagine you'd rescue me, she admitted with a small laugh. Stupid, right? No, he said, his voice shaking. Not stupid at all. He reached for her hand. For a long second she hesitated, then took it. The callous strength of his palm closed around her trembling fingers. And in that moment, no cameras, no fans, no Hollywood noise could touch what had just begun to heal. But even as father and daughter sat together for the first time, a storm was already brewing beyond that trailer door. Because someone had leaked the footage. And within hours, the entire world would know that Dwayne Johnson's most guarded secret had just stepped out of the shadows. By the time the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting the Atlanta sky in streaks of gold and purple, the video had already gone viral. A grainy, shaky clip, just under 2 minutes, captured from someone's phone behind the crowd barrier. It showed Dwayne Johnson halting a major action scene mid-shot, tearing off his gear, and walking straight toward a young girl with trembling hands and tear-filled eyes. It had no sound, but it didn't need any. The internet gave it a name. The moment the rock cracked. Social media exploded within minutes. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Comment sections flooded with theories, assumptions, and reactions. Was that his real daughter? The way he looked at her, that wasn't acting. Bro, this is bigger than any movie. Who is the mystery girl? Dwayne Johnson just ghosted a whole production for a fan? But it wasn't a fan. It was Maya. Inside the trailer, Dwayne had no idea what was unfolding online. He was still trying to hold his world together, one word, one breath, one truth at a time. But his phone didn't stop buzzing. Text from his manager. Missed calls from studio execs. A message in all caps. Call me now. Urgent. He didn't respond. He couldn't. Maya was talking, about the night her mother died, about how she found the photograph, about her first Google search for Dwayne Johnson real family. I knew it was a long shot, she said softly, curling into the couch like a child trying to make herself smaller. But I had to try. Dwayne sat beside her, hunched forward, rubbing his hands over his face. All his life he had played heroes. On screen. In the ring. But now, sitting here, he realized something terrifying. He had no script for this. The door swung open. It was Angie, his longtime publicist. Her face was flushed, breath shallow. She held up her phone like it was a bomb. It's everywhere, she said. It's on TMZ, Variety, CNN, even BuzzFeed already. They're calling it a mystery daughter incident. Dwayne's jaw tightened. What do they know? Only what they saw. No name. No background. Just that you stopped filming and left everything for her. He looked at Maya. She didn't flinch. She was used to chaos. The kind no cameras ever cared about. I need to make a statement, he said. Angie blinked. Now. Tonight. She hesitated. You sure? We could spin this. Say it was a stunt. A performance. Hell, we've done crazier damage control. Dwayne cut her off with a look. Sure. Clear. This isn't a scandal. This is my daughter. The words hung heavy in the air. Maya's lips parted, eyes wide. He had never said it out loud until now. Angie stepped back, suddenly aware that this moment wasn't hers to manage. I'll call the team, she whispered, then disappeared down the hallway. He turned to Maya. Is that okay? If I tell the world who you are? Maya nodded slowly. I don't want to hide any more. Later that night, Dwayne Johnson posted a video from his private Instagram account. No filters. No lighting crew. Just a dimly lit room, his face raw and tired. I've always believed in honesty, he began. And today something happened that changed my life. He paused. Her name is Maya. She's my daughter. And I didn't know, until today. The video was short. Honest. Gentle. It went viral in under 5 minutes. Fans poured in love. But not everyone was kind. The comments were split, some praising his courage, others digging into timelines questioning everything. How could he not know? Was he hiding her? What about his current family? The headlines grew crueler by the hour. Secret daughter rocks the rock. Johnson's hidden past exposed. Perfect father? Or Hollywood lie? And in the middle of it all, was Maya. Just a girl looking for her father. Dwayne sat with her in silence as the world erupted around them. And for the first time in years, he was afraid. Afraid of what the truth could do. Not to his image, but to her. The next morning, the sun rose over Atlanta like nothing had changed. But for Maya, everything had. She woke in a hotel room far too quiet, far too clean. The bed was soft, the sheets crisp, and a tray of untouched breakfast sat by the door. A fruit plate. Warm toast. Eggs cooked perfectly. But Maya couldn't eat. Not after last night. Not after the entire world learned her name. Dwayne had arranged the room himself, just upstairs from his own suite. He said he wanted her close, wanted her safe. But Maya wasn't used to safety. She was used to walls. To cold faces. To sleeping with her sneakers on just in case. The knock on the door startled her. It was soft, familiar. He stepped in, dressed in plain gray joggers and a black hoodie. No camera-ready smiles, no cologne, just the tired face of a man who didn't sleep. Mornin', he said, voice raspy. Maya nodded, hugging her knees on the edge of the bed. It's everywhere, isn't it? He sighed, sitting across from her. Yeah, he admitted. It is. She pulled the hotel blanket tighter around her. Am I a problem for you now? Dwayne looked at her sharply. Not with anger. With heartbreak. No. Don't ever think that. But your people. They're mad. He ran a hand over his bald head. They'll get over it. I don't care what they say. Maya shrugged, eyes fixed on the window. People online are saying I'm lying. That I'm just some girl who wants attention. Some of them said I faked the photo. Dwayne clenched his jaw. You don't owe them anything. I didn't want this to be a mess. I just wanted to know who I came from. Dwayne moved to sit beside her now, slowly, carefully. As if she might vanish if he moved too fast. I need you to know something, he said. I'm not going to walk away. Not now. Not ever again. She didn't look at him. But she didn't pull away either. I don't know what being your dad is supposed to feel like yet, he added. But I want to find out. If you'll let me. Her voice cracked. Even if people hate me? They don't matter, he said. Only you do. Silence settled between them like a fragile truce. And for the first time since arriving, Maya let her head rest gently on his shoulder. Downstairs, the hotel lobby was chaos. Press vans parked outside. Paparazzi with zoom lenses. Tabloids were offering 5-digit figures for a candid shot of the girl. And the studio had sent a representative. A tall man in a tight suit waited in Dwayne's private lounge, pacing like a man preparing for war. When Dwayne entered, Maya stayed upstairs. The man wasted no time. You're trending in 47 countries, he said, shoving a phone in Dwayne's face. This story's eclipsed our entire marketing campaign. Your image is on fire. Dwayne didn't blink. Good. Good? The man barked. We had a schedule. We had dates. The shoot cost millions. We can't keep halting production because you want to play hero to some. Watch your mouth, Dwayne cut him off. The room froze. The man stuttered. I didn't mean. She's my daughter. Not some PR inconvenience. But there are contracts. Then tear them up. Silence. Dwayne stood taller now, voice cold and unshakable. Let me explain something, he said. Movies come and go. I've done enough blockbusters to last me a lifetime. But Maya? She's once in a lifetime. And I won't let your cameras or deadlines screw that up. The rep left without another word. Back upstairs, Maya had heard nothing of the argument. But when Dwayne returned, his eyes were tired and calm. Do you want to get out of here for a while? He asked. Somewhere quiet? She nodded. And just like that, they packed a bag and left the city. No press, no security. Just a father and his daughter, finally trying to figure out what it means to be a family. Neither of them knew it yet. But this was only the beginning. Because as they disappeared into the quiet roads of Georgia, a new storm was already forming. One from Maya's past. A past Dwayne had never imagined could exist. The car ride was long, quiet, and winding. Dwayne drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on his knee, occasionally glancing at Maya in the passenger seat. She stared out the window, watching the trees blur into one another. Her expression unreadable. Calm on the surface, but beneath, something stirred. Something she hadn't said. Something she was still carrying. They were headed to a small lake house, one Dwayne had bought years ago but rarely visited. No paparazzi. No fans. No noise. Just silence and space. The kind of place where truth had nowhere to hide. I used to dream about road trips, Maya finally said, breaking the stillness. Me and Mom. Just driving somewhere. Anywhere. Dwayne smiled gently. You ever take one? Only once. When she found out she was sick. She wanted to show me Savannah. She must have been strong, he said. She was everything, Maya replied, her voice softer now. Until she wasn't. They arrived just before dusk. The lake shimmered under a soft lavender sky. The house stood like a quiet retreat, wooden, warm, and surrounded by tall pines. Inside it smelled like cedar and memory. Dust danced in the air. The floor creaked beneath their feet. Dwayne gave her a quick tour, kitchen, bedroom, back deck. She smiled at the simplicity of it all. For once, she didn't feel like a ghost in someone else's story. They had dinner, grilled sandwiches and leftover soup he found in the freezer. Maya laughed for the first time. It was quiet but real. And then when the night turned still, she said it. I wasn't in the system right after she died, she murmured, sitting cross-legged on the couch. Not right away. Dwayne froze. What do you mean? I didn't go to the police. Or child services. I didn't tell anyone. He turned to face her fully, concern creeping in. I was scared they'd take me somewhere far, she said. Somewhere where no one knew me. So, I hid. Hid where? Old motels. Parking lots. Sometimes in the back of buses. I used to collect leftover food at night behind diners. I learned how to act invisible. Dwayne's throat tightened. For how long? Almost a year. A year. 12 months of survival. Alone. A child with no safety net, sleeping with one eye open and the other searching for a reason to keep going. Why didn't you tell me this before? He asked, voice shaking. She shrugged. Didn't want to ruin the moment. He stood up suddenly, pacing the floor. You were homeless. While I was out there, filming, smiling, flying in jets, you were on the street. I didn't blame you. But I blame myself, he snapped, then lowered his voice. God. Maya. She looked up at him, her eyes steady. I don't need pity, she said. I need you to know where I come from. Dwayne nodded slowly, sinking back into the chair across from her. His voice was low. I want to know everything. So she told him. About the woman named Tammy who let her stay in a gas station backroom for a week. About the night she got sick and lay on a bench, shivering until a stray cat curled beside her for warmth. About the old man who gave her a bus ticket to Atlanta and said, go find him. If he's anything like he is on TV, he'll love you. And you believed him? Dwayne asked. She looked at him. No. But I wanted to. That sentence broke him. That night after she went to bed, Dwayne stood on the back deck of the lake house, staring at the water. The wind was still. The stars above didn't blink. He thought of all the times he had talked about strength. On stage. On screen. In interviews. But real strength was sleeping in the room behind him. In a girl who had walked through hell without asking anyone to carry her. And the worst part? The world still didn't know who she really was. But someone else did. Far away, in a dark room lit only by a cracked phone screen, a man watched Maya's video on repeat. He zoomed in on her face, smiled, and whispered, finally found you, girl. Because there was a secret Maya had left out. One she didn't even know yet. A secret about her birth. And the dangerous man who believed she belonged to him. It began with a message. Buried deep in Dwayne Johnson's inbox, among thousands of fan letters and business proposals, was a single chilling email. No subject line. No signature. Just a grainy photo. Maya sitting at a bus stop, barely 12 years old, hunched over a backpack twice her size. Below it, one line of text. You have what belongs to me. Dwayne stared at the screen, his heart pounding. The timestamp on the photo was from 3 years ago. It had never been public. Not on social media. Not in any records Maya had shared. He instantly called his head of security. I need a full background check on this email, he said. Now. His voice left no room for delay. Upstairs, Maya was asleep again. She had spent the day swimming in the lake, laughing like she hadn't in years. Dwayne had thought, for a moment, that they were safe here. But the past has sharp edges. And someone had started to drag them back to the surface. 300 miles away, in a rundown apartment filled with cigarette smoke and broken furniture, a man named Raymond Keller watched the news with a crooked smile. He was in his early 50s. Graying hair. Deep lines on his face from years of bitterness and time spent behind bars. His eyes, though, they were alive. Calculating. Obsessed. He lit another cigarette and leaned forward as the screen showed Maya's face again, now attached to headlines like, Dwayne Johnson confirms surprised daughter. Maya Johnson, a hidden chapter of The Rock's life. But Raymond didn't care about the fame. He didn't care about the name Johnson. He cared about the girl. The one he'd raised for 2 years, after her mother got sick and desperate. She was only 6 when Elena had met him. A mistake. A man she thought could protect them. But Raymond hadn't protected anyone. He controlled, isolated, threatened, hurt, until Elena ran. Until Maya vanished without a word. And now here she was, back in the spotlight. With a father worth millions. Cameras watching her every move. Raymond's mind raced. She's mine, he muttered. She was mine first. He opened a drawer filled with old photographs, letters, hospital bills. In the corner, a worn journal with Elena's name on the cover. He kept everything. Waiting. He hadn't finished with her. And if Maya thought she could disappear behind a celebrity's shadow, she was wrong. Very wrong. Back at the lake house, Dwayne didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dim kitchen, drinking cold coffee, his mind spiraling through timelines, names and possibilities. Who could have taken that photo? Where had Maya really been before the system found her? And why hadn't she said anything? At sunrise, he sat beside her bed, watching her breathe. She looked so peaceful. So unaware of the storm returning. When she woke, she smiled. Hey. Hey, he replied, swallowing the knot in his throat. Maya, can I ask you something? She sat up slowly. Of course. When you were living on the streets, was there ever someone? Someone who tried to take care of you? Or control you? Her smile faded. I don't remember everything, she said slowly. There's this blur between the time Mom died and the first foster house. I blocked most of it out. Anyone named Raymond? She froze. The name hit her like a cold wave. I think, she whispered. That name. It sounds familiar. Dwayne leaned forward. Maya, I think someone's been watching you for a long time. Someone from your past. Someone who doesn't want to let go. Her hands trembled. She nodded. There was a man. He used to say I was his. That Mom owed him. Tears welled in her eyes. I used to hide under a table when he came home. Dwayne's fists clenched, knuckles white. I'm not going to let anyone touch you again, he said, voice low and fierce. I promise you that. But promises are only words. And somewhere, Raymond Keller was already on the move. He had tracked the lake house. And he was coming. Not for money. Not for headlines. But for the girl who had escaped him once. And this time, he didn't plan on letting go. The stillness of the lake was deceptive. Birds sang in the early light. Water lapped gently at the dock. Pine trees swayed in the breeze as if untouched by the past or the future. Inside the cabin, Dwayne moved with precision. Calm on the outside but a firestorm on the inside. He had called in a private security detail the moment Maya mentioned Raymond's name. 2 plainclothes agents were now stationed just beyond the trees, watching the road, tracking incoming signals, monitoring anything unusual. Maya didn't know yet. He didn't want to scare her. Not yet. Not until he had to. Instead, he kept things light. Pancakes for breakfast. A walk by the lake. Jokes that didn't land but made her smile anyway. She needed peace. And he needed her to feel it, before everything collapsed again. But peace was always temporary, especially when evil was already watching. From less than half a mile away in a rusted-out rental car hidden behind thick brush, Raymond Keller sat behind the wheel, binoculars in hand, a twisted grin across his face. "There you are," he muttered. He saw her. Maya. Older now, taller, stronger, but still his. He hadn't expected Dwayne Johnson to look so different off-screen. Less invincible. More real. But Raymond didn't care. Fame meant nothing. He had dealt with men bigger, louder, richer. None of them mattered when he wanted something. And he wanted Maya. He opened the glove box, revealing a pistol. Checked the magazine. Loaded. Cling. Beside it, a collection of IDs. Fake names. Burned phones. Raymond had spent the last 6 years hiding in the cracks of the country. Always moving, always watching. He had nothing left to lose. Except control. That night, Dwayne and Maya sat on the porch. The stars shimmered above them like scattered secrets. A campfire flickered between them, and the smell of burning wood mixed with the fresh scent of pine. Maya held a mug of hot chocolate, her voice barely audible. "Sometimes I wonder who I'd be if none of it had happened," she said. "You'd still be you," Dwayne replied. "You're stronger than you realize." She looked at him. "And you? Do you ever wonder who you'd be if you had known about me sooner?" He hesitated. "All the time," he said. "But I can't go back. I can only be here now." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but she didn't let them fall. She was too used to holding them in. Then suddenly a sound. Faint. Too soft for most ears, but Dwayne caught it. A crunch. Leaves. A footstep. His entire body tensed. He stood up slowly, scanning the tree line. His heart pounded. He didn't want to cause panic. "Stay here," he said calmly, walking back into the house. He grabbed his phone and dialed his lead security man. "Talk to me," he whispered. "We've got a heat signature," the voice replied. "South edge of the property. Moving slow. Watching. We're moving in now." Dwayne's mind raced. He glanced back at Maya, who was poking the fire, completely unaware. He couldn't let her know. Not yet. 10 minutes later, a call came back. "Target fled before we got close. But he left something behind." "What is it?" Dwayne asked. "A note. On the hood of your truck." He walked outside. And there it was. A small piece of paper, folded clean. Tucked under the windshield wiper. His fingers shook as he opened it. Just 2 words written in jagged ink. "Not over." That night, Dwayne sat beside Maya's bed until she fell asleep. His eyes never left the door. He didn't sleep. He couldn't. Because now he knew. Raymond was close. Watching. Waiting. And next time he might not leave a note. He might come through the door. Dwayne had been through war on screen, explosions, betrayals, battles and rain and fire. But nothing prepared him for the war in his chest as he watched the shadows grow longer outside the lake house. Raymond Keller was out there. Real. Breathing. And worse, obsessed. He stood by the window, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the woods. Every rustle in the trees felt like a whisper. Every creak of the wooden deck sent a jolt up his spine. He turned his phone in his palm, scrolling through the photos Maya had shared. Pictures of her mother. Elena. It crushed him how familiar her smile was. The same tired kindness. The same quiet sadness. The same eyes as Maya. He had failed them both once. He wouldn't do it again. Down the hall, Maya sat on the edge of the bed, watching the screen of her own phone light up with notifications. Another DM. Another comment. Another stranger trying to get too close. She had deleted every app twice. Turned off every alert. But the world never really shut off. Not when you were The Rock's long-lost daughter. A knock at the door broke her thoughts. Dwayne stepped in, his face tight. "We're leaving," he said. Her eyes widened. "What? Did something happen?" He hesitated. Then sat beside her. "There's someone dangerous nearby," he said carefully. "Someone you knew. Someone from your past." The fear in her eyes told him she remembered. "Raymond." Dwayne nodded. She whispered, "I thought he was gone." "So did I," he said. "But he's back. And he's watching." She gripped the blanket, white-knuckled. "What does he want?" "You." The word fell like ice between them. "But he's not going to get anywhere near you," Dwayne said, voice low and solid. "We're setting a trap." By midnight, the cabin was empty. Lights on. Curtains open. Fire crackling in the hearth. Maya's backpack rested on the couch beside a half-eaten sandwich. It looked lived in. Safe. Normal. But it wasn't. A mile away, Dwayne and Maya sat inside an unmarked black SUV with tinted windows and a direct line to the security team. The lead agent, Marcus, monitored the thermal feed on his tablet. Another team waited behind the hill, rifles ready but hidden. Dwayne's fists clenched in his lap. His entire body wanted to move, to act. But this wasn't Hollywood. There was no script, no retake. One mistake, and Maya could be lost again. She sat beside him in silence, eyes glassy. "I hate this," she whispered. "I know," he said. "I do too. What if he doesn't come?" "He will," Dwayne said with quiet certainty. "People like him, they always think they're one step ahead." She nodded slowly, but her voice trembled. "I remember things now. Bits and pieces. The way he'd lock the door. The way he'd scream when I cried. I used to pretend I was invisible. That I was a ghost so he couldn't hurt me." Dwayne turned to her, eyes full of pain. "You're not a ghost, Maya. You're here. Alive. And I see you." Her lip quivered. "I just don't want to disappear again." "You won't," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." A sharp buzz jolted the silence. Marcus looked up. Movement. North side. "We have eyes on the target." Dwayne leaned forward. "Is it him?" "Thermal signature matches. He's walking slow. No mask. No attempt to hide." Maya's hand shot to her mouth. The screen showed him clearly now, Raymond walking straight toward the house with something tucked beneath his coat. Dwayne gritted his teeth. "He's going for the door," Marcus whispered. "We wait for breach. Then move." The feed showed Raymond reach the porch. He looked around. Hesitated. Then opened the door. Inside, silence. He stepped in. Looked around. Saw the backpack. The sandwich. The fire still warm. Then the lights flickered. He turned. 3 agents moved as one, through the back, through the front, through the shadows. On the ground. Now. Raymond spun around, startled. He reached for something under his coat. But before he could draw, a red beam lit his chest. "Drop it." He froze. The pistol clattered to the floor. In less than 5 seconds he was cuffed, disarmed, and dragged out onto the dirt. Maya watched from the monitor, frozen. Her whole body shaking. Dwayne reached over and pulled her into his arms. "It's over," he said softly. "He's done." But Maya didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just whispered one word. "Finally." As Raymond was loaded into the black van and driven into the night, Dwayne sat holding his daughter, knowing that while the danger had passed, the damage would take much longer to heal. And the world still had questions. The morning after Raymond's arrest, the headlines exploded. The Rock's daughter targeted by stalker. Breaking. Dwayne Johnson involved in armed confrontation at Secret Lake House. Who is Raymond Keller, and why was he after Maya? The media went into a frenzy. Speculation ran wild. News helicopters circled the lake house like vultures. Fans flooded every comment section. The internet didn't sleep. But inside a quiet hotel suite in downtown Atlanta, Dwayne and Maya sat side by side, shut off from the noise. Curtains closed. Phones silenced. No more cameras. No more strangers. Just silence, and 2 people trying to understand the weight of everything that had happened. Maya sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through messages she wasn't ready to read. Some were full of love. Others, not. "You just want his money. This is all a scam. Where were you all these years?" She locked the phone and dropped it beside her. "People don't believe me," she whispered. "They think I'm just some girl chasing fame." Dwayne sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "They don't matter," he said quietly. "You know who you are. And I know who you are." She looked up at him, eyes tired. "I don't know if I belong in your world." He stood and walked over, kneeling so they were eye to eye. "You are my world now," he said. "And I'll spend every day making sure you never forget that." Maya smiled, but it was faint. The kind that came from exhaustion, not joy. "I don't want to hide anymore," she said. "But I don't want to be on magazine covers either." "Then we'll find another way," Dwayne replied. "Our way." Just then his manager called. He didn't want to answer, but this time it wasn't about money or press. "CNN's offering a full interview," the voice on the line said. "No drama. No paparazzi. Just you and Maya. One-on-one. Her chance to tell the truth before everyone else twists it." Dwayne hesitated. He looked at Maya. She had already heard. "Do you want to?" he asked. She thought for a long time. Then nodded. "I want them to know what she was like," she said. "My mom. What she went through. How she never blamed you. How she told me to be brave even when I was broken." Dwayne's eyes softened. Okay. He called back. We'll do it. 3 days later the country sat still. The screen faded in to reveal Dwayne and Maya, father and daughter, side by side on a modest couch in a quiet studio. No flashy lights. No studio audience. Just emotion, raw and unfiltered. The interviewer was kind. Come. She asked questions that peeled back the layers, slowly, carefully. Maya told the truth. About her mother. About growing up invisible. About Raymond. About that cold night she watched one of Dwayne's movies from the back of a bus and whispered to herself, I think that's my dad. She didn't cry until she talked about Elena's last words. If you ever find him, tell him I never stopped loving him. Not even once. Dwayne looked down then, hands trembling. I failed her, he said. I failed Maya. But I'm here now. And I'm never leaving again. The video of the interview went viral within hours. Not because of scandal. But because of sincerity. For the first time the world stopped judging and started listening. People began apologizing in the comments. I was wrong about her. She's so strong. I can't believe what she went through and still smiles like that. But with sympathy came attention. A letter arrived the next day. From a woman in Texas. She had once lived in the same shelter as Elena. She had stories, letters, even photos. One of the photos showed Elena holding a baby. A hospital ID bracelet on her wrist. But the name written on the tag wasn't Johnson. It was something else entirely. Maya stared at it. I don't understand. And then came another message. This one from a private investigator who had started digging, quietly, discreetly, at Dwayne's request. He had found something. Someone. Another man. Another name. Another possibility. Dwayne felt the floor shift beneath him. Because Maya wasn't the only one who had been kept in the dark. The truth about her birth hadn't fully come out yet. And what they were about to discover would change everything. The photo lay between them like a ticking time bomb. Dwayne stared at the hospital bracelet on baby Maya's wrist, his jaw clenched, the lines in his forehead deepening with each second. Maya read it again, barely whispering the name. James Keller. Not Raymond. Not Johnson. James Keller. Her voice cracked. Who is that? Dwayne swallowed hard. I don't know. But his gut told him this wasn't just a typo or a hospital error. It was something deeper. Something buried. He picked up the phone and called the private investigator. The man answered instantly. You saw it? Yes. Talk to me. The investigator sighed. I ran a full trace. The hospital where Maya was born listed James Keller as the legal father. He signed the birth certificate. Elena didn't contest it. But here's the catch. James Keller doesn't exist in any public database. No driver's license. No tax records. No employment history. So who the hell was he? Dwayne asked. That's the thing, the investigator said. We think it was an alias. Used for someone else. Dwayne's blood went cold. Raymond. Most likely, the investigator replied. Back then it was easy to fake papers. Especially in smaller towns. And if Elena was desperate, scared, she might have agreed to anything just to protect the baby. He looked over at Maya, who sat quietly in the corner of the hotel room, hugging her knees, staring at the TV without seeing anything. She was just trying to survive, Dwayne whispered. She was being hunted, the investigator added. And now it's clear, she didn't just run from abuse. She ran from a man who wanted to erase every trace of Maya's real identity. Later that night, Dwayne broke the silence. Maya, he said, sitting beside her. I need to tell you something and I don't know how to say it. She turned her face to him slowly, her eyes glassy. I'm listening. He held up the photo again. This name. James Keller. It might have been Raymond. Using a different identity. She blinked. Then, he signed my birth certificate? Yes. But that doesn't mean anything about your real bloodline. He could have manipulated the system. Your mom may have had no choice. Maya stared at the bracelet, her lips trembling. So, you might not be my biological father? The air cracked like glass. Dwayne reached for her hand. Listen to me. You're my daughter. That will never change. I don't care what a document says. But, what if it's true? She whispered. What if I'm not yours? He pulled her into his chest, holding her like she might fall apart. You're mine, Maya. You became mine the second I saw you. And no paper, no test, no man can undo that. Tears streamed down her cheeks now, but she didn't pull away. Still, a quiet fear lingered behind her eyes. And the truth needed answers. 2 days later, they sat in a private clinic under a fake name. A discreet doctor, handpicked by Dwayne's legal team, performed the DNA test. Simple. Painless. Terrifying. The doctor promised results within 48 hours. Maya barely spoke those 2 days. She stayed close to Dwayne, eating beside him, walking beside him, sometimes falling asleep with her head on his shoulder like a child who didn't want to wake up into a storm. He didn't press her. He just stayed present. Until the phone rang. The results were in. They returned to the clinic. Sat in the same quiet room. The doctor entered with an envelope in his hand. No emotion. No expression. He handed it to Dwayne. The room spun as he tore the seal. He read the first line. Then froze. Maya leaned in. What does it say? Dwayne's eyes filled with tears. He looked at her and whispered, almost breathless. You're mine. The weight of the world fell off her shoulders in an instant. She exhaled. A sound that was almost a sob. Almost a laugh. I am? He smiled, breaking down. 100%. No doubt. You are my daughter, Maya? She buried her face in his chest as his arms wrapped tightly around her. I was so scared, she said, voice shaking. So was I, he whispered. But now we know. No more questions. No more shadows. For a moment there was only relief. Only truth. But as they stepped out of the clinic, hand in hand, a man sat across the street in a parked van. Watching. Photographing. Smiling. Because now the world had a new headline. DNA confirmed, The Rock's secret daughter is real. And not everyone would handle the truth with love. The confirmation should have been the end of the storm. Instead, it was the beginning of a new war. By the time Dwayne and Maya returned to the hotel, the world had already devoured the headlines. Confirmed, Maya is The Rock's biological daughter. Dwayne Johnson's private DNA results leaked. Celebrity paternity story shocks Hollywood. The photos, the clinic, the moment they held each other, someone had captured it all. The private test meant for peace had been turned into spectacle. Dwayne stared at the screen, his jaw tight. This was supposed to be between us, he growled. Maya sat frozen, knees pulled to her chest. She didn't say a word. Her face was pale. Someone had followed them. Again. And this time it wasn't Raymond. It was the world. The next morning, his team called an emergency meeting. Publicists, legal counsel, brand managers, agents, all jammed into a glass conference room while Maya waited outside with headphones on, trying to drown out the chaos. This is nuclear, said one rep. We're talking brand exposure worth millions. Exclusive interviews, books, docuseries. This could open every door imaginable. Dwayne didn't blink. And if I say no? They paused. Someone cleared their throat. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. She's out there now. If we don't control the narrative, someone else will. And not everyone will be kind. He stood up slowly. Every inch of him calm, but dangerous. You will not turn my daughter into a product. She's not a product, someone whispered. But she is public. That word rang in his ears like poison. Public. Meanwhile, across town, Maya was trending again. Her face. Her story. Her name. Strangers analyzed her photos. Zoomed in on her smile. Compared her features to Dwayne's. Debated whether she deserved to be part of the legacy. And then came the vultures. One post from a verified account read, "So she's confirmed, but where was she when he was building his empire?" Another, "Blood doesn't equal worth. What has she ever done except exist?" And the worst, typical, "Here comes the cash grab." It crushed her. She shut off her phone. Curled up on the hotel couch. Her chest felt tight, her throat dry. She had fought her whole life just to be seen. And now that she finally was, it felt worse than being invisible. Dwayne came back late that night and found her in the dark, staring out the window. She didn't look at him when she spoke. "They hate me." "No," he said softly. "They don't know you. They think I'm using you." He walked over, sat beside her, and spoke without hesitation. "Let them think. Let them shout. Let them tear their keyboards apart." He turned to her. "But I know who you are. You're the kid who survived a world no child should ever have to walk through. You're the one who made it out of hell with your heart still intact. You're my daughter. That's the only truth that matters." Tears ran down her cheeks. "But I don't want your life to get ruined because of me," she said. He smiled, but it was sad. "My life didn't begin until you walked back into it." They held each other in silence. Until a knock interrupted them. It was Angie, Dwayne's longtime publicist. She looked nervous, almost scared. "There's something you need to see," she said, handing him her tablet. He tapped the screen. A video started playing. It was Raymond, sitting in a prison visitation booth, speaking directly to camera. "Dwayne Johnson thinks he saved her. But I raised that girl. I gave her shelter. I fed her. Her mother ran from me and filled her head with lies. The truth is that girl is part of my story too. And I'm not finished telling it." Maya's face drained of color. "They gave him a platform?" she whispered. Angie nodded. "An independent channel posted it this morning. It's already got over 6 million views." Dwayne's knuckles cracked as his fists curled. "They gave a predator a microphone." "He's painting himself as the victim," Angie said. "As the father figure. The one who lost everything." Maya whispered, "He wants people to believe he loved me." "And some will," Dwayne replied bitterly. "Because the internet doesn't care about truth. It cares about controversy." He stood up, pacing. "This isn't just public anymore," he said. "This is a war for her name. Her future." He turned to Angie. "I want everything we've got, every legal route, every contact, every platform. I want to shut him down. Permanently." But Angie shook her head. "You can't kill his voice," she said. "Not anymore. But maybe Maya can drown it." They looked at her. She wiped her eyes, then nodded. "Let's tell my story," she said. "The real one." And that night, Maya sat in front of a camera. No makeup. No lights. No edits. Just her. And for the first time she began to speak. Not as The Rock's daughter, but as Maya. The survivor. The truth teller. And the girl the world could no longer twist. The room was quiet. No crew, no producers, no makeup artists fussing over lighting. Just Maya, sitting alone in front of a single camera, her back straight, her hands trembling slightly in her lap. Behind the camera, Dwayne stood with arms crossed, watching with a mixture of pride and pain. Angie monitored audio from the corner, while a security guard stood at the suite door to ensure there would be no interruptions. Maya took a breath. The red light blinked on. And she began. "My name is Maya Elena Keller, but that's not who I am anymore." Her voice wavered but didn't break. "For most of my life I didn't have a last name that mattered. I didn't have a home or safety or even a real bed. What I had were corners to sleep in. Strangers who didn't ask questions. And a mother who fought every day to keep me alive, even when she was dying." Pause. Deep breath. "She told me about him, my real father, when she could barely speak. She said his name like it was made of light. Not anger. Not bitterness. Just hope." Her eyes glistened. "I found him. And he didn't run." Cut to a clip. Dwayne stepping off set. His face in shock. Reaching for her. Back to Maya. "He could have ignored me. He could have doubted me. But he didn't. He looked in my eyes, and he saw me." Another pause. "But this isn't about him. Or what the internet thinks about our reunion. This is about the man who tried to steal my voice before I even knew I had one." The tone shifted, sharper, firmer. "To Raymond Keller, who claims he raised me, you didn't raise me. You caged me." The words hit like a thunderclap. "I remember your boots on the floor when you came home drunk. I remember hiding under a table with my backpack because I knew you'd throw things. I remember the nights you screamed at my mother until she bled. And I remember when she took my hand and ran." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "She didn't fill my head with lies. She saved my life." She leaned forward now, her eyes locked on the lens. "And to the world watching this, especially the girls who've been told to stay quiet, to be grateful, to not stir the water, your story is real. Your pain is not a rumor. And your truth can be louder than the ones who tried to bury it." Behind the camera, Dwayne was crying silently. Maya inhaled slowly. "I'm not here because of a last name. I'm not here because of a DNA test. I'm here because I chose not to vanish. And because my mother taught me to fight. I'm Maya Johnson. And I'm not afraid of the dark anymore." She leaned back, hands shaking. The light blinked off. Silence. Until Angie whispered from the side, "That was perfect." But Maya didn't smile. Not yet. She wasn't sure if she believed it. She looked over at Dwayne. "Did I say too much?" He walked forward, wrapped her in his arms, and whispered into her hair. "No. You said enough." They uploaded the video at midnight. No titles. No tags. No monetization. Just the truth. Within 3 hours, it had over 2 million views. By sunrise, it was on the front page of every major platform. And by noon, it had drowned out Raymond's voice entirely. People didn't just watch. They felt. The comments changed. I believe her. This girl is everything the world needs right now. Forget fame, she's powerful because she lived it. You are not alone, Maya. Something shifted. Maya wasn't just known anymore. She was heard. But not everyone celebrated. In the quiet shadows of a small-town jail, Raymond Keller sat alone, watching the video from a prison tablet. He didn't flinch. He didn't blink. He just stared. And whispered, "She took everything." He clenched his jaw. But it's not over. Because even behind bars, Raymond had allies. And while Maya's voice had changed the narrative, some voices weren't ready to go silent. Rain tapped gently against the hotel window as Maya stood with her forehead resting on the cool glass, watching the streets of Atlanta below blur into streams of light. She had barely slept. The video was everywhere. The messages kept coming. Some loving, some hateful, some hauntingly familiar. But the one that arrived at dawn made her blood run cold. It wasn't public. It wasn't from a fan. It was a handwritten letter. Delivered by courier. No return address. The paper was yellowed and creased, folded too many times. The handwriting was messy, angry, unmistakable. Maya sat on the bed and opened it. "You were always ungrateful. You've humiliated me in front of the world. But they don't know the truth. You're still mine. You always will be. RK." Her hands trembled. She dropped the letter like it burned her skin. Down the hall, Dwayne heard her sharp gasp and rushed in. He found her pale and shaking. "What happened?" he asked urgently. Maya pointed to the letter. He picked it up. "Read it once. Then twice." His chest rose slowly, deliberately, rage simmering beneath every breath. "He got this out from prison," Maya whispered. "He's not done." Dwayne took a step back, dialing security with one hand while his other clenched the letter so tightly it nearly tore. "I want everything locked down. New room. New names. No public movements without an escort. I don't care how tight the system is. Someone helped him send this. And I want to know who." He hung up. His jaw clenched like stone. "This ends now," he growled. Meanwhile, in the correctional facility 3 states away, Raymond sat in the visitation room again. Not for an interview this time. Not for fame. For strategy. A woman stood across from him. She looked nothing like someone you'd expect in a place like this. Business suit. Expensive shoes. Cold eyes. Her name was Geneva Morel, a corporate fixer with a long history of helping powerful men hide their messes. Raymond leaned forward. "She humiliated me. He took everything." Geneva didn't blink. "And what do you want from me?" "To be remembered. To be part of the story. Their story. I want the world to know that girl didn't come from royalty. She came from me." Geneva opened her briefcase and slid over a single sheet of paper. "We've prepared a legal claim. Parental rights. Fabricated custody documents. An alleged breach of emotional care. All of it strategically worded." Raymond smiled, eyes gleaming. "So it begins." Geneva packed up her files. "We'll file next week. After the headlines settle. And then, we push the lawsuit to the public." She paused before walking out. "Enjoy the show." The next morning, Maya and Dwayne sat across from a team of attorneys and federal security advisors. The air was heavy with unspoken dread. One lawyer cleared his throat. "We've received notice of a preliminary intent to file legal action against Maya's guardianship history, based on false custody records dating back 15 years. Maya furrowed her brows. "But that's impossible. He never had custody of me." "True," the attorney said. "But the documents he's submitting, they'll make it look like he did." Dwayne stood abruptly. "You're telling me a man who abused her, hunted her, stalked her, might have a legal claim to her name?" The room fell silent. "No," the lead attorney replied. "Not if we fight it the right way. Not if we stay ahead of it." Dwayne nodded, but his eyes darkened. "We don't stay ahead of people like him by playing their game. We finish them. Once." He turned to Maya. "This ends with you deciding who owns your story. Not him. Not the court. You." Maya took a long breath. "I'm ready," she said. "I've lived through worse. And I didn't survive all that just to let someone else speak for me now." But even as she spoke those brave words, deep down she knew. This wasn't just about fame. Or truth. It was about the past trying to chain her again. And this time, it was coming for her in the form of the law. The courtroom wasn't grand. No chandeliers. No press. Just 4 beige walls, the creak of leather chairs, and the low hum of tension that refused to fade. Maya sat beside Dwayne at the plaintiff's table, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She wore no makeup, no designer clothes, just a plain blouse and jeans. She didn't want to look like someone who had something to prove. She wanted to look like the girl she really was. Across from them, behind a thick pane of reinforced glass, sat Raymond Keller in shackles. Unwashed. Well, eyes sharp as glass. This wasn't a criminal trial. It was worse. This was the hearing on his motion to contest Maya's legal guardianship as a minor, based on a forged set of documents that now threatened to rewrite her past on paper. Petitioner claims he was the legal guardian of Maya Elena Keller between the ages of 6 and 8, the judge read from a file. He submits a copy of a signed document from a notary public in South Carolina, 2013. Maya's stomach twisted. That year, she had been sleeping in the back of a used bookstore in the same state. She remembered hiding. She remembered him. The judge looked up. Mr. Keller, do you have any witnesses to corroborate this claim? Raymond spoke for the first time, his voice low and cold. I raised that girl when no one else would. I fed her. Sheltered her. I didn't have time for paperwork when her mother dumped her on my doorstep. A ripple of disgust passed through the courtroom. Dwayne shifted, barely keeping himself from standing. The judge turned to Maya. Miss Keller, do you recall any period of time during which the petitioner acted as your guardian? Maya stood. No, Your Honor, she said, her voice steady. What I remember is a man who locked me in a room when I was 6. Who screamed at my mother until she left in the middle of the night with nothing but a bag of clothes. I remember hiding behind vending machines and sleeping in parking lots. She looked directly at Raymond now. What I don't remember is love, or safety, or anything that resembled a guardian. The courtroom fell silent. The judge nodded. And you understand this proceeding affects the legal records tied to your identity? Yes, sir, she replied. Raymond slammed his chained hands on the table. She's lying. She's poisoned by that Hollywood. Enough, Mr. Keller, the judge barked. You are under oath and in custody. One more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt. Raymond gritted his teeth and sat back, seething. The judge turned to the attorneys. I've reviewed the notarized documents and there are discrepancies. The notary in question passed away 6 years ago. No record of license renewal. The form's serial number is incomplete. Likely fabricated. Maya exhaled. The judge continued. Unless the petitioner can provide verified third-party testimony or supporting documentation within the next 10 days, this motion is hereby rejected. Permanently. Raymond stood. You think this is over? Security grabbed his arms. I made her, he snarled at Dwayne. And you took her. But blood runs deeper than fame. Dwayne stood up slowly, towering over him. I didn't take her, he said, voice low. I found her. When you were too much of a coward to even try. Raymond was pulled away. The door slammed behind him. And just like that, the courtroom was quiet again. Outside, the air smelled like freedom. Maya stepped out into the daylight, eyes blinking in the brightness. Dwayne walked beside her. She looked up at him. Was that it? He nodded. It's over. She shook her head, half smiling. No. He's over. And for the first time in her life, Maya didn't feel like someone's shadow. She didn't feel like a rumor. Or a mistake. She felt whole. But their story wasn't finished yet. Because the world had seen the pain. Now it was time for them to see the healing. And Maya had one more message to share. The stage wasn't a movie set. No explosions. No scripts. No retakes. Just a simple auditorium filled with young people. Students, survivors, dreamers. Some had come out of curiosity. Others had come because they had felt her story in their bones. And in the front row sat Dwayne Johnson, arms folded, eyes never leaving his daughter. Maya stood alone at the podium. A single microphone. 1,000 eyes. A silent room. She wore a simple black jacket, her hair tied back, a nervous tremble in her fingers, but her voice, when it came, was steady. I was born into a storm, she began. And for most of my life I thought it would never end. She paused, looking at their faces, strangers yet somehow familiar. I didn't grow up with protection. I didn't grow up with a famous last name. I didn't even grow up with safety. What I had was fear. What I knew was survival. And what I believed deep down was that I didn't matter. The room was quiet. Not frozen. Just listening. But someone once told me that you don't get to choose where your story begins, only where it goes. She smiled faintly. And mine led me to a man I'd only seen on screens. A stranger. A myth. A father. She glanced down for a moment. Her next words shook slightly. When I first looked in his eyes, I thought he'd turn away. I thought I'd be too much. Too broken. Too complicated. She looked at Dwayne now. But he didn't run. He didn't question. He didn't flinch. He saw me. A single tear rolled down her cheek. He didn't save me. He stood beside me, while I saved myself. Dwayne wiped his eyes. Maya turned back to the crowd. There are kids out there right now hiding under tables, sleeping in shelters, watching the world forget them. Her voice broke just slightly. To them I say, you are not invisible. You are not worthless. And no matter what name the world gave you, you have the right to rewrite it. Thunderous applause broke the silence. Long, loud. Real. But Maya didn't smile for the cameras. She smiled because she meant every word. Later that evening, on the ride home, Maya sat beside Dwayne in silence. Her head leaned gently against his shoulder as the city lights passed by outside the tinted glass. You did good today, he said, his voice soft. She nodded. Felt like I finally said everything I needed to. He looked down at her. So, what now? Maya smiled, eyes closed. I think I just want to live for a while. Quietly. With you. With the people who matter. He chuckled. No movies. She laughed softly. Maybe one. But only if you play my stunt double. They both smiled. Weeks passed. The noise faded. Maya deleted her public social media. Enrolled in school. Got her first real bed in a real home. One with a view of a garden she helped plant. One where nightmares were replaced by early sunrises and breakfast made by a very protective, very famous, very soft-hearted father. The media moved on. But the people who mattered never forgot. She wasn't the secret daughter anymore. She was just Maya. Maya Johnson. Not because the world said so, but because she had earned the name. With her pain, her truth, and her voice. And somewhere, on a quiet morning long after the headlines had faded, Maya stood on the porch of their home with a mug of coffee in hand, watching the sun rise. At peace. Finally. This story is a reminder that painful beginnings do not define the future. No matter how broken or forgotten someone feels, the truth has the power to heal, and family is not just about blood, but about presence, love, and courage. Maya's journey shows us that speaking your truth, even in the face of fear and public judgment, is the most powerful act of reclaiming your identity. And Dwayne's transformation teaches us that it's never too late to show up for someone who needs you, especially if that someone is your child. Sometimes it's not about being the strongest in the room. It's about being strong enough to listen, to believe, and to stay. This story is 100% fiction, written to feel emotionally real and immersive. Names, characters, and events, especially those involving public figures, are purely imagined and created for storytelling purposes. The goal is not to mislead but to inspire through narrative. If this story moved you, made you think, or touched your heart, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing so you don't miss the next emotional story we share. Thank you for listening. Stay kind. Stay strong.